it's for everybody. It's not just for me and people with my amazing haircut. It is for absolutely everybody. It is for you. That whatever the outcome of your writing career, whatever your accomplishments, whatever success you have, the most important thing would be that you had had a writing career. Writing will be your best friend. If your life is turning to rubbish, as sometimes life does, if you are a writer, you can immediately step into another world of your own creation. You can lose yourself in a world where this world, for the time that you are writing, does not exist. And believe me, that can be an enormous comfort. You will benefit immeasurably. Most of the people that I know who have started writing have become addicted to it. They might not necessarily be published writers, but the actual act of writing gives them a huge dimension in their life, which is easily as powerful as meditation techniques, which is a meditation technique in itself. You are concentrating upon a single thing, which is the act of creating something in words. But also, you might get publishable work out of it that can transform your life materially as well. There are so many benefits to writing, and I really want you to allow yourself to share them. I cannot tell you how much richer my own life has been since becoming a writer 40 years ago. I can't imagine what it would have been like if I hadn't done that. And I urge you to do exactly the same thing. Natural differences in talent notwithstanding, I would say that you are likely to be exactly as good a writer as you are a reader. As far as I know, certainly in my own case, everybody who becomes a writer has got there through reading. Even as a child, you will read some narrative, some story that particularly seizes your imagination, that transports you to a different place. You get the habit of reading. You'll be reading under the bedclothes by torchlight. And sooner or later, you will think, well, actually, I can write in the English language. Perhaps I could write some story like this. In fact, you could very easily say that reading is the gateway drug for writing. Read with an analytical eye to back engineer your own responses. If you're reading a book and you suddenly find yourself frightened or touched or amused, look back over the preceding pages or paragraphs and see how the writer has got you to feel that. This is one of the joys of being a writer that reads. You can find out an awful lot about human responses from your own human responses and kind of back engineering them to find out how they got that response. And I would suggest that you be as omnivorous as possible, to read everything. Don't differentiate between the highest pinnacles of literature and the lowest slums of pulp and genre. Everything is potentially powerful and will enrich you as a writer. Yeah, read philosophical treatises and also read viz. Read the lowest things and the highest things and all points between. They can only expand your grasp of your subject and your career. Now, it's not only important to read books about all sorts of subjects. As a prospective writer, I would urge you to not only read good books, read terrible books as well, because they can be more inspiring than the good books. If you're inspired by a good book, there is always the danger of plagiarism, of doing something that is too much like that good book, whereas a genuinely helpful reaction to a piece of work that you're reading is, Jesus Christ, I could write this shit. That is immensely liberating, to find somebody who is published who is doing much, much worse than you. And by analysing why they are doing so badly, this will immensely help your own style. You will find out all of the mistakes not to make. Why did this story offend me so much? Yeah, analyse that. Find out why you didn't like it. Find out all of the examples of clumsiness or bad thinking that spoiled the story for you. That will probably be a lot more helpful to your career as a writer. I think that it is massively important to not rest upon your laurels, to not stick with a winning formula, however much the temptation is to do that. The tactic that I have found most useful is to immediately drop a device as soon as you become aware that you are using it. As soon as you think, oh, that's something I've done in my last 2 or 3 stories, maybe I should drop that device. This will mean that you will have to go to all of the trouble of coming up with new devices for every story, which is a tremendous amount of work, and who knows whether the audience will like it or not. However, you will be progressing. You will not be still and dead in the water. When I say a device, I am generally talking about the necessary tricks that we come up with as means to tell a story. For example, in my own work from Watchmen, a very simple early device that I worked out was that scene changes could be accomplished by an overlap of dialogue, by an overlap of imagery, even by an overlap of a colour between one scene and the next. This is a device. It carries the reader through the changes in the narrative at a furious pace, and it's aesthetically pleasing. I was doing that throughout Watchmen. I noticed that when I did a Batman book after that, The Killing Joke, I was still using the same techniques. That book is probably, I mean, I've largely abandoned most of my comic material, but that one in particular I had abandoned almost as soon as I'd written it. It seemed to add nothing new to my writing. It didn't seem to extend it in any way. So that was the point at which I abandoned that device. And with my next works, I was trying radically different things. And when I'd finished with those works, I tried to abandon those things as well. Of course, you will learn things in doing any work, and you should retain that learning, that you can do this effect, that you can do such and such a device. But it is important to just keep moving fast in evolving these things. You will notice that your office space is a bit untidy. Some of those pencils could do with sharpening. You will perhaps start to tidy your office space because, you know, that will give you an orderly mind as you rationalise it before you start your screenplay. And then you'll notice that perhaps you've run out of some sort of vital office supply. You're probably thinking about it. At best, pop into town and perhaps visit a stationer's, make sure you're properly stocked up. OK, by the time you get back, it's about 3:30 in the afternoon. You don't really want to start something if you're going to be knocking off for the evening soon, so probably best to leave it until tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning, something else will happen. You'll notice something else. You'll decide that you better read your research books again. This is just ordinary avoidance. Everybody does it. You have got a job to do that's really important, and on one level you're excited about it, but you're also a bit apprehensive, so you avoid it. There's nothing wrong with this. All you have to do, in my case, when I've been avoiding things for about 3 days, then my working class guilt will overwhelm me and I'll realise what a wretched procrastinator I am and have always been. And at that point, when I can no longer bear myself, I will get my arse onto the chair. This is actually the biggest problem in any field of art, getting your arse onto the chair. If you can do that, then the rest of it will be a breeze. But yeah, we procrastinate. So understand what you're doing. Think, right, I'm procrastinating. I'm going to do it for as long as I need to, and then I'm going to start work. Just know what you're doing, know that you're procrastinating, and then get over it. In conclusion, I would like to say that please write responsibly, and also beware of dodgy adverbs, as in, "Come on," he barked doggedly. And further to that, to always stop when the fun stops. Now, I want every one of you to get out there and to write me a better world, because this one is completely fucked.